Morning, good afternoon, good afternoon, mainly here. We've now changed the time of this session for at least the people living on my side of the world because we don't change our clocks. So this means it's an hour earlier than the usual session. So it might mean that it's a little bit earlier for people in Asia because it's the middle of our day. So welcome back to session, what is it, 4, right? We're in April, so we've been doing 4 sessions, another session a month. And today, our focus for today's session is going to be on the inhale and the exhale, which are two very specific parts of the breath. We kind of see it all as one just breath, the inhale and the exhale, but they're actually two different parts, and the inhale and the exhale play different roles. And today, what we want you to discover is what role do these two parts of the breath play? And so hopefully you'll leave this session with some sort of new understanding and knowledge of the breath and those inhales and exhales. It was something personally that really blew me away when I learned about it because I had never ever heard that the inhales and exhales were connected to different parts of the nervous system and that they had different roles. So we're going to start off with Veronique, who is going to give us a practice. No? Did you want me to just jump straight into you're looking at me surprising. I'm like, I thought you were doing a little bit of awareness. No?
I'm more than happy to do that.
I thought we might do a little bit of awareness just to start us off and just connect to our breath. And then what will happen is that then I will take you through a little bit of the science. We'll keep the science really light. There's not a ton of things here to say, but we'll tie in with what we've previously done in the other sessions. And then we'll go into another practice, another sort of practice around the inhale and the exhales. And then we'll hopefully have time today for questions and answers at the end. And this session's being recorded, so if you're not attending live or you want to listen to this again, we'll post it on our YouTube channel afterwards so that you can catch up or listen to it again. Veronique, over to you.
Yeah. So let's start, as usual, by finding a comfortable, supportive position. So sitting on the chair or on the floor. And you can move a little bit from side to side, connecting with your sit bones. And then make sure that you put equal weight on both sit bones and that you lengthen through the crown of the head. Check that the back of your head is in line with the spine, your shoulders relax down. And we want to soften and relax a little bit all the respiratory muscles. So turning your head gently from side to side to release any tension you might have in your neck, in the accessory muscles. And then back to center and reach one arm overhead and then the other arm lengthening from side to side, stretching the muscles between the ribs. And then interlace the fingers behind your back. Lift the chest, draw the shoulder blades together. So this time we are stretching more the pectoral muscles in the upper chest. And then release. And feel free to close or half close your eyes if that's comfortable. Rest your hands on your lap. And take a moment just to observe your breath. Breath awareness is just observing the breath. Notice the cool air coming in through the nostrils if you're breathing through the nose, and the warm air on your upper lip on the exhale. Notice as well the gentle rise and fall of your abdomen as you breathe in and out. And today we're going to focus in particular on the inhales and the exhale. So look at your inhale and try to discover something that you've never found out about your inhale before. So really with curiosity. How does your inhale feel? Is it effortless, or does it require a little bit of effort for you to breathe in? Where do you feel your breath, or on the inhale, where do you feel the air coming in? And now switch to the exhale. How does your exhale feel? What does it feel like? Is it effortless as well? Does it require more energy to breathe in or to breathe out? And notice as well how your whole upper body feel when you breathe in and when you breathe out. Do you feel there's more tension on the inhale or on the exhale, or more relaxation in your muscles? Which would you associate with being passive and being active? Is there any difference for you? And which do you feel more comfortable with today, right now? Do you enjoy your inhale more or your exhale? And it might change throughout the day. Sometimes we feel, oh, I can exhale more, I can inhale more. Good. So just keep your awareness to these two parts, two intricate parts of the breath, as we gently open the eyes again. And I'll pass over to Celine.
Hi.
So if there's anything you want to share, you can share now, or maybe after, at the end.
I was actually going to ask if anybody noticed which part of the breath, the inhale or the exhale, felt active versus passive. Whatever that means to you. Did any of you notice? And if so, which part of your breath? Yes, Solange. What did you notice?
Very active inhale, very passive exhale,
Mm,
quite tense inhale,
quite tense.
quite, and easy exhale. Very like straight.
Interesting. Carmel.
Yeah, I was aware of making more of an effort with the inhale, so a sense of kind of sucking the air in like a vacuum cleaner, almost kind of suction, and my neck tends to tense on the inhale, and exhale more passive, relaxing, effortless.
Georgina, did you notice something? I'll just press the button to mute. Was there something on your side?
I found the inhale more active and the exhale just passive.
Yeah. And Charlie, I know you joined in that, so I don't know if you caught on to it. Hi, Charlie. Lovely to see you. Did you catch on to that? And did you feel anything?
Yeah, the same, just the active inhale, more passive exhale.
Beautiful. Yeah. So it's pretty much the same for me. And actually, I resonate with you, Solange. Like for me, what was interesting was I did feel the really very much the effort in the inhale when I stopped to watch it. It felt like, oh God, I'm tired. And the exhale, I felt like this desire to lean into my exhale. I felt like, God, I do really would love to spend more time on my exhale because it was just this beautiful energy of letting go. So thank you, Veronique. That was actually really beautiful to sense into that. So to connect it to what we've previously seen and how what is actually going on, and you see that it all makes sense with what we've covered previously. I'm just going to show a few visuals just to kind of sort of that we're seeing, hopefully you're seeing that. Yes, you're seeing that is our wonderful diaphragm. If you remember that, if you've seen our previous sessions where we've shown what the diaphragm is, this beautiful dome-shaped, sort of parachute-shaped muscle that sits underneath our rib cage. And that is our main breathing muscle. It's the one that, because through the contraction of the diaphragm, is what draws air into the lungs, because the lungs, again, don't move by themselves. Now, the reason that this, and you'll see on this video, the reason that, as you can see, when this diaphragm contracts and the whole rib cage opens up, the reason that the inhale feels effortful is because, or is active, is because, as you can see, the contraction requires a little bit of energy and effort from us to sort of flatten so that the lungs can sort of open up and widen, and that can draw the air in through the nose or through the mouth. So we're seeing it there happening. I'm sorry, there's a bit of writing on it there. But you can see this movement of diaphragm and as everything is expanding. So it takes effort. It requires some effort from our bodies to contract that muscle. Like any contraction, whether it's our biceps or triceps, you need to put a bit of effort in it. And that is active. Whilst, as you can maybe see from there, when a diaphragm just goes back to its natural position, which is a dome shape, it's a passive movement. It just flips back into its dome shape. So the reason that we're feeling this need to put some energy in it is because the contraction. Now, we're not going to cover this today, but we will in a future session cover what actually triggers the contraction of the muscle, because the popular belief is actually that the body needs its oxygen, so it contracts the muscle. Now, it will be quite different, so I'll leave the mystery for another session. All I'll say to you is that it's controlled by this little brain stem, so that really sort of quite primal part of our brain that sits at the bottom of our brain here. And there's a signal that gets sent from there to the phrenic nerve, and the phrenic nerve is then responsible for contracting the diaphragm. But we'll talk about that later in a future session about why and when that little signal gets sent to the diaphragm. For now, what I want to show you is, and again, we're seeing the diaphragm again, moving another view of the diaphragm. These videos are absolutely stunning videos, as you can see this movement of the diaphragm happening. It's beautiful what technology can do now, so we can actually see this contraction. So just to keep it simple, when we inhale, the contraction of the diaphragm, and with that, everything sort of pushes out. So just remind everyone that when we inhale and the diaphragm contracts, we open and expand. And when we exhale and everything goes back into its natural position, the belly goes back in, the rib cage closes again, and we release and let go. And this is really the mantra for today. To remember, if anything you remember today is inhale, open, expand. It's a bit of a stretch, bit of effort. And then the exhale is a release and let go. And if you're not feeling that naturally, so outside of this session, whenever you check in with yourself and you're sensing that, for example, you're pushing out that exhale, that you're putting effort in it, you're not breathing naturally or you're not breathing optimally. Because again, you should be opening, expanding, and then releasing, letting go. Opening, expanding, release, let go. That should be the natural movement of our breath. Now, what's interesting here is that this is connected to the inhales and exhales are connected to our autonomic nervous system. Like what we're seeing here in this little animation is this absolutely stunning nervous system. So what is this nervous system? This nervous system is this wire. It's like a road network, right? That runs through our entire body. And the nervous system is responsible for sending messages from the brain to the body, from the body to the brain. And it's controlling all the vital functions of our body, all the movement. All this communication in our body is happening through this complex network of nerves. Within this complex nervous system, there is a specific part of the nervous system called the autonomic nervous system. And this one is interesting to us today because the autonomic nervous system, I think many of us will have heard of it because we hear about this sort of fight, flight. I don't know if this video is going to stop. Sorry, I think it's just restarting. We hear about the autonomic nervous system because we hear about it. We hear about the fight, flight, rest, and digest. that's become quite popular now. We hear about it a lot. But in essence, the autonomic nervous system, which is just a part of the nervous system, is responsible for controlling all these autonomic functions like heart rate, digestion, breathing, the distribution of oxygen, the immune system, lymphatics. It's responsible for all these vital functions. And it controls all of that. And its role is to constantly regulate the internal environment of ours. So it's perceiving cues from the outside world. And in response to the cues in the outside world, it is responding, it is balancing out the inner world inside us. Think of it simply, it's also a survival mechanism, meaning that when there is a perceived danger, let's say our eyes pick up a sense of danger on the outer world, our autonomic nervous system is going to kick in. We'll get a message that there is a perceived danger, and our autonomic nervous system will kick into this fight and flight mode, which is also known as the sympathetic branch of that autonomic nervous system. So sometimes we get confused between parasympathetic and sympathetic, but think of this autonomic nervous system as it perceives danger, so it switches on the mode saying, you need to get out of there or you need to fight this threat. And what that does is, if you think of it, oops, sorry, that came off. Oops, stop the video. If you think of it, what happens when this fight-flight goes off is that a whole lot of a cascade of effects happen in our physiology. So typically our pupils will dilate. Our saliva will sort of kick in. We are getting ready for a fight or for running away from the danger. Okay, our airways will dilate so that we can get more oxygen to every cell in our body so that we can run fast or fight. Our heart rate will start pumping faster. Our stomach will stop digesting because we don't need to digest when we're in survival mode. Our kidneys will release a lot of adrenaline, a lot of stress hormone, again, to kind of ramp up the energy. Our bladder will relax. Our reproductive organs or system will just degrease because we don't need to reproduce in this moment. So whenever there is a perceived danger, our autonomic nervous system says, there's danger, you need to survive this, you need to get out of here or fight this. And it's the part of our nervous system that goes into activation, go. Now, there's another part of our autonomic nervous system that says once the danger is gone and we've dealt with it, it's what we call sometimes the rest and digest mode. Okay, so it's a bit like the fight flight is a bit like the accelerator in a car, push down, put the fuel, and the rest and digest mode is more like the brake on. So it's the part of the autonomic nervous system that sort of brings us back to what we call homeostasis, which is a sense of everything can go back to optimal functioning. Okay, so heart rate tends to slow down. The stomach goes back into digestion. Our reproductive system goes back into function. Everything just slows down again. And that is more what we could say is regulation. Okay, so our autonomic nervous system is constantly sort of switching between one and the other, depending on what it's perceiving on the outer world. Now, why this is interesting is because, and how it links into the inhale and the exhales, it turns out that our inhales, when we are inhaling and this diaphragm is contracting, it is actually pushing down on the sympathetic part of our nervous system, the activation part. And when we exhale, it is pushing on the regulation. So if you think of it otherwise, think of it a bit like a car. What's happening is when you are inhaling, it's like pushing a foot on an accelerator, and everything is going a little bit faster. The heart rate is increasing and everything starts to sort of light up. And when you exhale, everything slows down again. And it's a bit like putting a foot on the brake. And that's what's happening every time we're breathing. And why this is really, really interesting for us today is when you understand that, you've understood a very fundamental principle of a lot of breathwork techniques. Typically, and I'll stop sharing here, typically, it gets you to understand why, when we are doing breath that are calming, we tend to increase the exhales, because the exhales are the brake. It's the regulation part of the nervous system. When we increase our inhales, when we do long inhales and short exhales, we're pushing on the accelerator. We're pushing on the activation part of the autonomic nervous system. So that's ultimately what's really interesting in understanding these two parts. So our body, by breathing in and breathing out, is constantly moving between these two branches of the autonomic nervous system, or two features of the autonomic nervous system. Vernie, do you have something to add on that I haven't said?
No, that was very complete, comprehensive. The only thing that we can also add is that is when we breathe through the nose, and when we breathe through the mouth, it adds even more of the activation. So mouth breathing is also activating, and nose breathing tends to be more calming. But it's a beautiful balancing act that we do throughout the day as we breathe in and out. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. And it could, I guess what we're trying to say is that we can also, through breath work, through again, putting our attention and intention on our breath, we can play with these two forces. Because if we understand them, we can actually use them to our advantage to think whether do I need to uplift myself and bring more energy in? Do I want to activate myself without being in full flight mode? But do I want to activate myself, that accelerator? Or do I actually need right now to ease back, to fall back into more of a rest and digest mode? And therefore put a foot on that sort of brake.
And another thing that I would like to add about the effort it takes to breathe in, to inhale. I mean, we have to remember as well that the diaphragm is a muscle like any other muscle in the body. When we get older, muscles tend to be less toned, less active. So that's why also it might feel harder to breathe in, but we can do something because we can keep this beautiful muscle strong and active and responsive with breath work. So keep doing breath work to make sure that your breathing is less effortful. Yeah, so it's more effortless.
Yeah.
Shall we do a little bit of practice now? So, as Céline said, it really is the most important part nearly of breath work after using the diaphragm and knowing how to lengthen or to breathe through the nose or through the mouth, is this balancing between inhale and exhale. So keeping your awareness on your breath, making sure that you use the diaphragm properly, that you inhale and feel the expansion in your upper abdomen. And on the exhale, the belly draws in. Trying to keep your shoulders relaxed, not to engage your accessory muscles. We're going to slowly lengthen the inhale. So inhale and fill up your lungs slowly from the bottom to the mid-chest, to the upper chest. And then we're going to drop the exhale with a sigh, a short one. So really dropping short exhale. Again, deep inhale. Filling up all the space in your lungs. And super short exhale. Again, full expansive inhale. And short exhale. 2 more. Expanding and short exhale. Last one. Good. And now let's do the other way around. So inhale normally and slow exhale through the nose. And we're going to do a ratio of 1 to 2. Inhaling 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. Notice how you feel. And let's switch again. This time we're going to inhale for 8, exhale for 4. You can choose whether you want to inhale or exhale through the nose. It's not the main focus. So exhale first. And now inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. And now take a moment to notice how you feel now. Maybe noticing your heart rate, noticing how you feel in terms of energy, in terms of relaxation. So when we lengthen the inhale, so it's triggered, it's connected to the sympathetic nervous system. So it's the fight and flight, it's also energy. So you might feel you have more energy when you lengthen the inhale. And when you lengthen the exhale, then you're more relaxed. Yeah. So we'll do another quick one. This time we're going to inhale and exhale through the mouth. Just different channels, just to see how that works for you. Usually it just makes it a bit more visible, the difference between the two. So relax. And then we're going to start with the long inhale, short exhale, and then the other way around. So exhale first, and then long inhale through the mouth. Short exhale. Long inhale. And again. Let's do 2 more. And again, take a moment to notice how you feel. And if you felt like yawning, it's probably your nervous system telling you, I don't like it too much, I want to relax. So because it is, when you do that with the mouth breathing, it's even more fight or flight. So you feel more probably anxiety or more energy building up. So let's try to do the other way around. So short inhale through the mouth, long exhale through the mouth, more like a sigh, a long sigh. So starting with an exhale, short inhale, and sigh. Short inhale, sigh. And again. Two more. Last one. And that's the beauty of the sigh. Can you feel how soothing and relaxing this is? So when you do it through the mouth, it's nearly like on the one hand, Wim Hof or conscious connected breath, and the sigh on the other side. So even without using a specific technique, by just changing the length of your inhale or the length of your exhale, you change the way you feel. And then you can also change the channel to make it even more potent. Yeah? And the next thing you can do is, if you've got the same length of inhale and exhale, then it's balancing. Yeah. So we're balancing between the two sides of the nervous system. And that's equal breathing techniques, such as the coherent breath, where we inhale for 4-5, exhale for 4-5. So that's what we'll do next. Just notice how that makes you feel. Exhale first. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the nose. Inhaling, expanding. Exhaling, letting go. Inhaling, taking new energy in the body. Exhaling, letting go of what you don't want anymore. Inhale. Exhale. And continue on your own, really connecting with the quality of the expansion on the inhale. Getting new prana, new life force, new oxygen. And letting go and relaxing on the exhale. Visualize your diaphragm moving beautifully. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then taking a moment to integrate, to observe how you feel. Noticing any sensation in your body, any thought coming up. And throughout the day, we'll move from one pattern to the other, depending on what comes up during the day. But with breathwork, the intention is to be flexible and to know that we move from one pattern to the other, and we always come back to this balance state, the homeostasis, with a balanced, equal breath. So I'd like to hear from you now, if you want to unmute, and to find out if you noticed really the difference between the inhale and the exhale, whether it's in terms of length or in terms of channel. How did you feel? Georgina, you wanted to?
I feel very relaxed now, and I did notice, yes, it is harder for me to inhale, and it's beautiful to exhale.
Mm.
Yeah, beautiful to exhale.
It's harder for you to inhale, and do you feel more anxiety, more energy? Do you feel you're just less comfortable?
It's just more effort. It's not hard, but in comparing to the exhaling, it is more, takes more effort. And, you know, it's a bit, how long is this going to take? You know, I want to let go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Solange, did you?
Yeah, I have a few observations to share. So first of all, definitely breathing through the mouth brings so much anxiety. Like it's, you know, like it's really uncomfortable, and I don't like it. And it made me feel, because we started with that, right? It made me feel like unsettled. And because I had a migraine this week, it brought back all the anxiety that I felt, you know. But like, no, definitely not for me. So it's interesting, isn't it? And then, like Georgina, like breathing, inhaling, for me, it's so unnatural, which is very strange when I say that. It's just, what I mean by unnatural, it's more than like more than an effort. Like I need to think through, and I feel like my whole body tensing, you know. And this is not the first time that I noticed that. Obviously, now that I do more work, like I'm aware of it. But since I'm a child, it's been like an effort for me to breathe, and inhaling even more so. And I was always, when you were, you know, counting, I was always running behind, a bit like what Georgina said, running behind when I was excelling, because I like it. So I was like, no, more. So it was late. And then inhaling, it was the other way around. Like it was, you know, like it was done before even you know, you were done. So it's very interesting.
And, you know, that's something that I observed. You know, people who are, I don't know if you do a lot of yoga or relaxing practice or Tai Chi, or, you know, if you are doing a lot of relaxing practice, then you become far more comfortable with the exhale and with long exhale. But we need to be comfortable with both. That's when we build true resilience. And breath intelligence is when we are comfortable as well with an intense inhale. Because life is not always relaxing. And when something stressful happens, your body will get into the fight and flight, will get the heart to increase, will get into powerful inhale. If you are used to this and you say, okay, that's fine, I'll come back to my neutral state, then it makes it easier. So that's part of the breathwork practice, is to learn under control in a safe environment to feel comfortable with this inhale, especially through the mouth.
And it reminds me, Veronique, what you just said, Solange, and there's an esoteric view of breath work. Okay, so not the scientific part, but the esoteric part that says the inhale is a representation of taking things in, of receiving, of allowing, of taking life in, taking what you need for yourself. And the exhale is the opposite. The exhale is this letting go, releasing, expressing. And I'm sharing that because when I discovered that, I thought, oh, that's really interesting. I mean, obviously that's not scientific, but without fault, every time I've done one-on-one sessions with clients and I would look at the breath and I would ask them again, which part of the breath do you feel most comfortable with? So which one comes with most ease? And they would say inhale, exhale. It very much is an illustration of how they're living. And, there's a saying that says how we breathe is how we live. And often we say, if we're feeling this effort, this weight of taking in this, is it a representation of life? How I take in love, how I take in others, how I take in abundance, do I hold back? Do I really let all that in? Do I trust life, Do I really absorb it in my system? Or do I try to just sip in a little bit and make it effortful? And it feels like taking things in is like going uphill, which was actually the image I had when I was breathing today. I felt this uphill and then downhill was, and then this releasing. And it's almost every time I've had clients say, oh my God, that is exactly how I struggle in life. Like I don't take things in, or on the opposite, I don't let things go. So people who have trouble letting go of things, they tend to just let go a little bit the air and then they breathe in again and then let go a little bit, but they breathe in because they don't let go of things. And the really interesting part with that is that you see it in their physical bodies, you see it, because when people tend to struggle with the inhales, their bodies that not always, but they tend to have very tight chests. You can see that there's little movement in the inhales. The rib cage doesn't expand very easily. Sometimes they tend to be quite small and tight and kind of kept together. I don't know if you noticed that, Veronique, as well, right there. They're quite tight together. And people who actually on the opposite maybe are more comfortable with the exercise, you see them like they're broader, they take up more space. Like it's fascinating. And it's almost always, I can't think of a client that said to me, oh, that doesn't at all resonate with me. So that's another invitation, is look at how you're breathing, look at these two parts of the breath and ask yourself, how is that a reflection of, where I'm holding on or where I'm struggling most? Is it receiving or is it letting go? And how can, through breath work, how can I actually consciously work on that? If receiving is the part where you're just going back to what you're saying, Veronique, if receiving, letting things in is where I struggle, how can my breathwork practice help me get comfortable or cultivate some ease with my inhales and start getting familiar and comfortable and liking those inhales and that little effort?
Yeah. And even during the day as well, just to notice always, is my inhale longer or more intense, or my exhale, or I do it as well, if I need energy. Oh, maybe I'll activate or I'll have an intense or longer inhale just to give myself a little bit of energy instead of a coffee, just with the breath. And if I need to relax, just lengthening the exhale. So it's just so simple. It's incredibly simple, isn't it? And you don't even need to know a technique. You just need to lengthen. That's all. Good. Any other question?
Or reaction, observation, I
Or
guess.
reaction, yeah.
I love all the explanations.
Good.
Yeah, beautiful. And by the way, as I was looking up the sort of the fun facts about the inhales and exhales, there was one thing I found. So I need to check this one out, by the way, but it does say that when you look at babies and animals breathing very naturally, when they're sleeping, you tend to see that their exhales are longer than their inhales. And that would be very representative of the fact that they're in a calming, restorative state. So I actually thought I'll go and check with my cats after they're sleeping to see that. But there's a very big possibility actually that the exhales are longer when people are resting and really fully Yeah,
Yeah.
in this deep sleep.
Yeah.
And the other one was the snipers, the fact that when snipers, I'm sorry, so what snipers, not very nice view, but that snipers learn to shoot at the very bottom of their exhales, in that pause at the bottom of the exhales. And the reason being that it's because their whole nervous system is at its stillest point when they're at the bottom of that exhale, when they've completely pushed on that parasympathetic and that rest digest. And that's when they shoot, because the precision is a lot higher than if they shot on an inhale. So they learn to shoot specifically on the bottom of the exhale again.
And I applied this, not shooting, but playing pétanque last night. And it worked.
Oh.
I applied it. I mean, I'm really not very good at pétanque, but I knew that I was like, okay, I'm going to do the same. And I did win. Okay, beginner's luck as well. But and another piece of science is the fact that the researcher found out that we learn better during the inhale. Okay, how do you put that in practice is another thing, because how can you, I'm learning just during the inhale. I'm not learning when I'm exhaling, inhaling, learning. But there is, this kind of sharpness, focus is more associated with the inhale. So learning, shooting, that's what you need to do, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So we discover so much more about the breath all the time. You know, there's so much research going on. That's why it's so fascinating.
Yeah,
Good.
this is amazing.
It's incredible. It's quite incredible.
Unknown world. Like everyone needs to be aware of it, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's why you think you're like, okay, breath work, get it, inhale, exhale, change it. But I think that's where Veronique and I got completely sucked into it, because there's all these intricacies of the breath that you're like, who has ever told you that there was a difference between inhales and exhales? Like and how it's connected into that nervous system and your brain function and your heart. I mean, the things we didn't even say, here, but when you inhale, the reason that your heartbeat goes up is because when you inhale and your diaphragm flattens, your heart expands. And actually, because your heart expands, the blood has a bit more of a bigger journey. So it speeds up because the blood has to pump faster to go through the arteries. So, I mean, it's incredible. And it's because this is why it's all connected. It's not just one magic thing that happens. It's all interconnected into all the other bodily functions and systems, and you just can't get enough of it, because you think, God. And yeah, it's very neat. We're like, okay, next time we're going to talk about the breath hold, because there's a whole lot of science about the pauses, and this is what we'll do, I think, next month, Veronique, I think, if I'm right.
Yes.
We'll do a session on
love the breath
what goes
retention.
on, exactly, breath retention. What goes on when you hold your breath at the top of your inhale? What goes on when you hold it at the bottom of your exhale? Like, what actually is going on inside of you? And what can these two pauses do for you? So that's actually what we'll talk about next time. And so there's just so much to say and share.
Amazing, ladies. I'm just discovering a brand new world. I'm just like, how is that possible that I was not aware of that? It's just seriously.
Yeah, no one is. No one really is. So by the way, which is a good little thing, Veronique, I'm just going to mention here. So for any of you that are in Europe listening now, there is going to be, Veronique, you're running a 3-day breathwork foundations course. So this is a deep dive into breathwork, so covering a lot of what we said, but of course in much.
No, it's cancelled.
Oh, it's cancelled. Sorry, Veronique. Oh, so it's been cancelled, the Lule one. Right. Okay, so there are other ones. There is one online, I think, that Breathwork Africa is going to do. We could post that there. I'm supposed to be running one with Dr. Ila Manga in November. So if anybody wants to come to Bangkok, Charlie, you are in Bangkok. Yeah, 14th, 16th of November in Bangkok. I'm hoping that one's going to go ahead. Obviously, it's going to be subject to having enough people to have at least a small group of people that can come together. But we've got a bit of time. So if anybody here or anybody listening in wants to join Bangkok, it's going to be really quite unique to have the founder also of Breathwork Africa come. And I will be a sort of a support facilitator there, but exciting. And there are other events happening, I think, in the Netherlands and South Africa and online, which will be the same course run in different parts. So I can put that in the follow-up email as well. Cool.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you once again for coming and supporting us. And we'll see you all.
Looking forward to the next one already. Breath retention. Yeah.
Yay. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
lovely,
you.
lovely
Bye.
weekend, everyone.
Thank you
See you
so
very
much.
soon. Take care.